Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our TC Global session on the future of work. We're absolutely delighted to have you here with us this afternoon. I'm Ron McGluckie. I'll be your host for the event. And we are really very delighted and privileged to have with us this afternoon Dennis Seo. Dennis is from the University of New South Wales in Sydney and is the manager of global and career employability experience. And we're also very happy and privileged to have Mr. Varun Jindal with us. Varun is managing director of a company called Dev Energy and a very successful entrepreneur. So, gentlemen, I'd like to give you just a minute or two to share with the audience just a teeny bit about your background and what you're doing at the moment. So, Dennis, would we like to kick off with you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the introduction, Ron, and thanks for inviting me to this very special event. I am joining from Sydney, Australia. As Ron said, I manage the Global Careers and Employability Experiences team for the Central Careers Unit at UNSW. So what that actually means is that I look after the careers and employability of our international students. Not all universities have that team or this position, so it really shows the university's commitment for our international students and their employability. I am also an accredited careers advisor, and prior to joining UNSW, I used to work at the University of Sydney, mostly with employers of our international students, providing recruitment advice to those employers. So yeah, I do have an international background as well, so I'm not an Australian native. I was born in Korea and I moved here a long time ago. So that's a little bit about myself. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. Absolute pleasure having you here. And I think your background and experience will prove invaluable for our students. Varun, if you'd like to share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. So on Ron's invitation, I'm here because to give an industry background, I am an entrepreneur in the field of coal gasification. It's a technology which converts coal into natural gas and used by industries for heating the products. I have offices in China, Hong Kong, and India, and because of being involved in an innovative product and a technology, the interface is very cutting edge with both manufacturing, which are our users, and also the design, development, and the new technologies which keep coming up every day in our sphere. So it's a business which is an interface of both technology and hardcore manufacturing. And by education, I am an engineer from Delhi College of Engineering and an MBA from MDI Gurgaon, and I operate out of New Delhi, India.
Thank you very much, Varun. Appreciate that, and also looking forward to a lot of the input that you'll give. And to our students out there, really excited to host you, and would also love to hear from you as we go through the session this afternoon. Please feel free to engage with us on chat, to put any questions that you might have for the panel, and we'd be delighted to hear them. We'll be going for about 45 to 50 minutes. 30 minutes will be taken up by discussion with the panel and questions that we've already got raised. And then we'd like to devote further 15 minutes or so to Q&A from you, our students. So before we get going, I think our world has changed just so dramatically and so unbelievably over the last 6 months. I think we are all looking for some form of normalcy or life as it was. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But one thing, I guess, all the dramatic disruption and change has created is just incredible acceleration in so many areas, of industry, of technology, and many other areas. That's all just making the future happen a heck of a lot faster. What we see happening around us, we see it's a digital world. We see remote working everywhere. Automation is the name of the game, and artificial intelligence. All of these things are reshaping, I guess, industry, businesses, and all the jobs and roles that exist out there. So, and with all the structural shifts and rapid acceleration into a new economy, companies are completely, I guess, rebuilding themselves, and creating new classes of jobs, skills, and learning, to help them, I guess, transition effectively into the future. And our focus today is to really explore what lies ahead, in this road of change, of challenge. And it's going to be wonderful to get our panelists' views on a lot of that. Before we actually get going with the questions, Varun, Dennis, I'd really love to begin just by asking both of you, how's this experience of massive disruption from the pandemic, been for you guys? Talk to us about how you've managed to cope with the challenges that this disruption, that this change, has really brought to the forefront for you.
So let me start.
So Varun, please.
So there are two perspectives to it. One is that what challenges it gave us. So the biggest challenge which COVID has presented is that it's pushed the whole industry to rethink how you do business. One is the whole manufacturing and services industry is tuned to face-to-face meeting, right? So everybody wants to meet face-to-face. Every discussion, negotiation, every technical discussion, every commercial, everything happens face-to-face, which has gone out of the window. So everybody is now forced. Everybody is now forced to video conference. For example, our company, we had video conferencing set up from last 10 years, but it was seldom used. But now it's become, everybody has to queue up in a day to use it, right? So that's one part. The second aspect is the staff, workers, employers, managers, designers, everybody had to rethink what they know and what they need to know. So what do I mean by this is that it has forced people to multitask. It has forced people to relook at their learning, which in an office environment, probably they were not forced to. So these are the two factors which has challenged us. Dennis?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Varun. Yeah, Dennis, over to you, mate.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I guess, during war, that's when the most advancement in technology happens, and we are definitely in a war of its kind. So, as Ron said earlier, it's accelerated some of the changes that I guess were upcoming, or there were changes that people were too scared to implement, but they were forced to. So I guess, us connecting right now through these online conferencing is just a prime example. Just to give you, I guess, a bit of on a personal note, I've been working from home for the past 3 months, and it's definitely affected in terms of the whole 9 to 5 boundary. That's gone out the door. That boundary between work and home, or that work-life balance has definitely been challenged. So that is definitely one example, and we've all had to upskill or reskill to adapt to this new environment of working from home. So whether it be how to use these online conferencing tools, or in our case at the university, we've all had to adapt to using the online learning management system in order to continue to provide online education to our students, because the campus is locked down. So I'll leave my comments there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely exciting times, changing times, and let's see what happens for the future. I'm just really excited to see how all this massive acceleration, literally of everything, is going to play out for us. And I think especially for our young people, our students, our graduates, and the like. So I'd like to go on to a few specific questions now. And the first question, Dennis, I'd like to put that one to you. What do you believe are the short and midterm impacts on graduate employment of the current pandemic and dynamics?
Sure. In terms of the short-term impact, obviously, okay. So firstly, speaking of Australia, because that's what I know best, it seems that Australia was relatively less impacted compared to the rest of the world, I guess, for a couple of reasons. One, in that our border was closed fairly early on in this pandemic, and secondly, as you know, Ron, being from New Zealand, I'm sure you know well that we're quite geographically isolated from the rest of the world. So I guess we've been practicing physical distancing, naturally. So because of that, Australia has survived, and touch wood, fingers crossed, that we're surviving this pandemic relatively well. Now, when we look at the graduate recruitment space, the graduate employment space, it seems graduate recruitment is less impacted than other parts of the labor market, such as part-time work or casual work, and which is reflective of the tourism or the hospitality industry that's been obviously just demolished. Now, one reason for graduate recruitment being less impacted is because of the experience of GFC back in 07 and 08, when some of the large corporates, they seized graduate recruitment during this period. But the thing is, they found that in consequent years after that, they suffered a big skills gap. So that served as a bit of a lesson for some of the big corporates, and they in this time round, during this pandemic, they pretty much continue to hire graduates, and some of the numbers obviously might be impacted slightly, but for the most part, they've continued to recruit graduates.
So Dennis, could I ask you, with your contact with other global universities, would that be a transferable conclusion? Do you have any idea what's happened in other countries, very briefly?
The information that we base on is a report, a survey report by the Association of Australian Graduate Employers. So that specific data is confined to Australia. But in saying that, a lot of the information is from the larger corporates that are global. So I don't want to speculate, but I think there's a strong chance that graduate recruitment may be similar elsewhere as well.
Thank you, Dennis. So, I mean, that sounds like a very positive and encouraging message for our young folk, that maybe the doom and gloom that a lot of people are concerned about may not happen, and the graduate recruitment and employment might still remain fairly healthy. So thank you for that, Dennis.
Just to add to that, Ron, if I can, I guess one of the really key skills that's being emphasized and considered even more important than before is adaptability and resilience. And I guess the
Dennis, if I may interrupt you, I'm actually going to come to that in a separate question.
Oh, okay. I won't jump ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, Varun, a question that I would love to put to you. In the post-pandemic world, and with all economies going through a huge amount of turmoil, stress, in many cases, folding of organizations as well. Other organizations obviously are doing pretty well, especially in the digital area. Quite often we hear the take for our universities and our young people that a big challenge is a lot of young people and universities are good at really developing job creators. Job seekers instead of job creators. That the focus and attention is on getting a good job versus maybe where the future lies potentially is of creating jobs. Would you like to comment on that, Varun?
Yeah, I'll do that. And I'll just like to add to Dennis' answer my take on graduate recruiting. What I feel, and I'll connect it to your question, what I feel is that some industries like tourism, travel, hotels, service sector, touch and feel industries like spas, salons, there the recruitment and all the services related to such, the recruitment will be low for probably a few quarters or maybe a few years. But on the flip side, the digital and the e-commerce, online, and the industries which are feeling push because of COVID are actually recruiting. So it's not a lose-lose. It's a cake wherein some parts of the industry are recruiting more, some parts of the industry are recruiting less. Now, coming to your question of job seekers versus job creators, I think it's more of a mindset, a basic mindset issue. If I want to create a job, I want to be an entrepreneur, I have to feel and believe in it and then train for it. So it's the belief is first and then the training. Now, it's more like a horse and a cart, right? So you tell me that a university is not preparing a student, probably the other side is also possible, wherein the student's belief is not there. Now, if the belief is there, then the education need to be tailored according to somebody who has to be an entrepreneur and be an employer. What is required? And I'll steal Dennis's word. It's the flexibility, it's the adaptability, it's the courage to take risk and be on your own. If you want safety, if you want to take a check home end of the month, then probably you have to stick to a particular skill, and that's where universities are very good at. But if you don't want to stick to a particular skill and you want to be an entrepreneur, and it's very sorry state of affairs across the world, not only in India and China, the education is probably not available, and the student need to prepare themselves through a series of probably internships, some sample projects, some jobs with startups to reach that mindset.
Okay, thank you, Varun. Yeah, I think this is, I think somebody put it very courteously. Do you want to be a salary junkie or a risk taker? But yeah, not wishing to appear derogatory of any of them. So this question I would appreciate putting to both of you, and this touches, Dennis, on what you were going to go into. What do you believe are the new skills and attitudes employers will look for in this future world of work?
Okay, yeah, sorry about the little preview from before, but I think adaptability or resilience is definitely the key one right now. So in the top 10 employability skills that's surveyed every year by the Association of Australian Graduate Employers, resilience is currently at number 6, and that's it was a new entry in last year's survey, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next one that if it's jumped up a couple more ranks after this COVID situation. So I think the whole world knows that, with technology, but with this pandemic on top of that, how rapidly the world changes and also impacting the world of work. And in order for you to sort of keep up with that change, you need to be very flexible, you need to be adaptable, you need to, self-learn, you need all those skills to continue to be agile and relevant in the industry. So one of the stats was by I think World Economic Forum was that by 2022, more than half of the current workforce will need a significant reskilling or upskilling. So I think that goes to show how important it is to have that adaptability and resilience.
Thank you, Dennis. I can see some good questions coming in from our audience. So thank you for that. Please keep them rolling, and I will be moving to those in a little while's time. Varun, would you like to add to what Dennis has indicated?
Yeah, I like to build this answer on a few basic facts which are become part of our life now. So one is Google, right? So you want to know anything, you want to know a spelling, you want to know a maths formula, you just need to type on Google and it comes out, right? When we were doing engineering, it was not there. So you had to remember everything, you had to learn everything. Automation. The second, for everything in the industry, you have a robot. In software, for example, in accounts, financial management, you have a software, you have an ERP system. We used to build hundreds of Excel sheets just for MIS. Now the ERP does it for you. You don't need to build anything, right? So the environment has changed from a basic process-driven job to an intelligence job. So what is this intelligence job? You don't need an accountant. You need a financial manager, right? So that's the structure has changed. So this is just an example. So what it does to the whole future requirement from the students or people who want to seek work is that they need to be willing to not bet on a specific skill, but bet on learning ability. Can they learn fast? Whatever field they are in. If they are in, let's say, computer science, digital world, they need to learn new languages which come up every day. They need to learn new skills. If you are in manufacturing, then you have to learn to manage new machines, new processes every day. So it's the ability to learn which is defining the work. For example, for us, now just giving a specific example, now when I'm hiring engineers, I don't look at the specific skill and intelligence of that person, how much marks he has performed and what jobs he has done, versus how flexible he is, how varied his CV is. I am more looking at the width of the CV than the depth of the CV, which is the change. I myself was looking at the depth of the CV 5 years ago, but now I look at the width of the CV. If the width is more, I am willing to bet on the person. That is much better. So this is the lesson from my side, that it is the width of the CV which is more important than the depth of the CV.
Okay, thank you, Varun. So I think, listening to you very carefully, the additional point that you bring across there is the young person's ability to learn very quickly and broadly. So thank you very much for that. So the next question, I think, is also for both of you, and it leads directly on from the first one. And Varun, maybe you'd like to pick up on this one first. How should students and graduates prepare for this future world of work?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Why? Because even for my kids, when I go home and tell them that you don't need to be a specialist, they come back and with me 20 books and show me that, see, this guy has written this book, you need to be specialist, right? Because our whole paradigm of education is tailored to teaching kids that you have to be specialist, you have to be number one in this subject, whereas the world has moved on. The world doesn't want micromanagers. No, they want macro managers, right? And that's the challenge. And I'm losing that battle at my home, let alone to talk to an audience here. So because that's where the key is. How do you do it? First, you have to understand the student or the parents or the influencer, and even universities have to understand that if you make specialists and micromanagers, then the next 20 years, they will be sitting somewhere doing some junior job. It's like 1900s, somebody doing agriculture. I mean, what future he had in 1930 or 1950, right? It's that. So the world moves on, and you keep having a skill which you value. So my take on this is that how they can do it. One, keep learning, and keep learning small. You have online courses, you have YouTube, you have enormous number of ways in which you can learn, but you can learn small. get the gist of what the idea is. For example, you want to learn about finance. There are 20-hour courses which teach you about finance generally, economics, Python, AI. I have done many of these. They are 10-hour, 20-hour courses, right? So you just get the idea and be prepared for a wider knowledge base. Yeah.
Thank you, Varun.
Yes. Yeah, to pick up on Varun's point, and I just wanted to comment about the specialist bit. So I think the world still would need some specialists, but if you wanted to be a specialist, you better know damn well how to work with other people. So the world definitely at the moment appreciates collaborators. So that's definitely a skill that you'll need to have. Just in terms of how students should prepare for this work, for the world of work. And again, I would like to echo what Varun said in terms of the breadth of experience, which is reflected in that breadth of CV. So again, going back to the top 10 employability skills, and in the top 10, there is grades as well. So academic performance is one thing, and one of top 10 skills that employers look for. There's plenty of other things: communication skills, teamwork, adaptability, resilience, emotional intelligence, a whole array of skills which can be demonstrated through a whole array of different experiences. So an employer may, if there were two CVs and one CV was one student who's done HD, high distinction for academics, but has no other life experience, whereas if there was another student with credit or distinction but has done 3 internships, volunteered at 2 non-profit organizations, is the captain of the footy team, the president of the student society, and so on, I think most employers would pick the second one. So just want to make that point of making sure that you expose yourself to a variety of experiences, making sure that you link those experiences to the employability skills that employers are looking for, and to make sure that you can articulate that when you sell yourself to the employers.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, this brings me on to the other point that, at the moment with virtual learning, virtual classes, etc., quite a lot of young folk do indicate that they do have a bit more time on their hands than they had previously. And what I'd invite these people to think of is, we have a fantastic opportunity now through what Varun has indicated, to pick up a number of short courses that will provide these complementary skills for the direction that they are moving in. So don't wait, until you're at university or going through formal learning to start your learning. I think the message that's coming out from me very clearly from both of you is that a lot of very important, very job relevant learning that will stand you in good stead for the future is going to come from your own learning, outside of the formal classroom or outside of the formal degree, and the degree will probably be sort of the cherry on top. So thank you for that. I'd like to just pick up on one question that's come up from Ankush Galati. And he says, "Hi, everyone. As discussed, few industries like travel will be on hold for now. Many industries will be created or see increase in work for now. What do you believe a student should choose from now to have a good future job 3 to 4 years down the road?" Very good question.
Okay, so I might have a go with that.
Well, I'll have a response from both of you. So Dennis, if you'd like to kick off with it.
Yeah, it might not be a big surprise, but I think immunology or health would definitely be an area that you want to look into after this health pandemic. But other areas also, even prior to this pandemic, data science, data analysis would be definitely a good area, just because there's just so much data that important information that's being transferred through the cloud space. Everyone's working from home. We're not sharing information in person. Everything's sort of happening in the web. So that amount of massive data, someone needs to process it, someone needs to make sense of it, and that would definitely be one area that has good prospect. And also fintech. So you may know of a company in Australia called Afterpay, and I guess in recent months I've taken a bit of a close attention and interest in the stock market, as many other people, young people especially, have. And this Afterpay, it looks after online transactions, and it's jumped 500% in terms of stock value in the last couple of months. So I would recommend those three: health, data science, and also fintech.
Thank you. Varun, anything you'd like to add to that, mate?
So my take is slightly different. I think jobs and opportunity will exist in all the sectors. It is how you look at them, right? So somebody who's looking for a career in next 3-4 years, yes, definitely anything linked to data, anything linked to experiences online will be top of the line, because the more spend is moving towards that way. But within travel, within leisure, also things will move towards experiences, personalization, one-to-one rather than mass. So opportunities will exist in all the areas. The student seeking job 3-4 years from now will have to tailor the mind to the new paradigm. So it is the field all will exist. Manufacturing will happen, everything will happen. But the job per se in manufacturing will change from a floor shop manager to somebody who is managing the whole automation system, right? So that's my take. You have to retool yourself to the jobs. But if you say that mechanical engineering will not exist, that's not possible. Or a nurse will not be required. No, everything will be required. But the skills required to excel in that job will change.
Okay. And technology will be a big part of that, together with the, if I can call it, sort of the soft skills, the people management skills, collaboration, personal resilience, etc. Okay, thank you for that. Just one other quick question that's come up. 2 questions. What do you believe is the future of jobs in social work?
I left out something in my introduction that I actually used to be a physiotherapist. So I guess I have a bit more knowledge of the health industry, and including social work, in that when we look at the advancement of technology and I guess us being replaced by robots, there'll be newly created jobs, and there'll be certain skills that will never be, well, I wouldn't say never, but will take longer to be replaced by robots, and they are the very personal or the human skills. And something like social work, obviously, in this current day, will need to be done by people. And it goes to show how in the past 20 years there's been a 20% reduction in manufacturing, but it's been picked up by increase in the service industry. So I would say that the future of jobs, I guess in the near future for social work, is not something that will be easily replaced by robots.
Thank you. Yeah, Dennis, if I can just comment, a lot of the research done by the ASTD in the US, and I think globally, indicating that the people service industry, is going to be an area of huge continued growth, actually, for the future. Varun, here's a question. This is from Rajiv Gulati. Thank you, Rajiv. Hi, what is the prospect of vocational courses such as printing and packaging? Varun, would you like to have a go at that one?
Yeah, so definitely any vocational course is a good idea, provided, as you said earlier during the discussion, it is accompanied by technology. For example, printing and packaging, the vocational courses are very good, but they need to be added with designing or AutoCAD or PageMaker or skills which complement that particular course. So So the value addition for the person is more in the design and less in the business of printing itself.
Okay.
Right? So if both exist together in one student, the result will be probably multi-folds than to a normal, simple vocational course.
Okay, thank you very much. So Rajiv, I hope that answers your questions. Thank you very much. So I will be picking up other questions as we go along. I'd like to go back to one or two questions that have come up. And this is a question for both of you. I'm just watching the time. We've got about another 5-10 minutes. Yeah, given the current economic scenario, I think finance is a big issue for many people. And the question that gets asked, will students get an adequate ROI for their studies, whether it be in country or global ed? So will they get an adequate return ROI on their studies in this future world of work? Because study is expensive in many countries.
It is, or especially overseas education, I guess. But I heard a recent quote, and it was, in the long run, you always get paid for your skills. I really like that. I think it really rings true. We all know that I think that this current pandemic is temporary, and world's going to go back to usual sooner rather than later. Now, education, we can see that in the past 20 years that higher skilled jobs have been increasing in terms of proportion, opposed to medium skilled jobs. So it goes to show, I guess, somewhat of an impact of automation. But ever since industrialization, pay gap between high skilled jobs and lower skilled jobs haven't really closed. If anything, it's continued to grow. So I do think that investment in education is always going to pay off in the long run.
So
thank you, Dennis. Varun?
I'd like to answer it with a simple breakup of the word ROI. So it's return on investment. So to get a positive return, first requirement is that your investment should be right. What do I mean by that? You need to pick the right university, right course, which tool you, skill you as per the market. Return is dependent on what kind of skills you have already acquired from your investment and what is the industry status of that particular education and what are the salaries. Like Dennis said, low skill, high skill. Now, the problem with students seeking abroad, education abroad, is that if they choose a university or a course which doesn't skill them properly and doesn't push them into right sort of market, then the ROI will not be positive. But it will take a long time. They will acquire more skills on job, and then probably later on the ROI may become positive. But if you choose the right university or and you choose the right course, probably that is the way to increase your ROI. So my take on ROI for education is that it is both way. You have to choose right, and then you have to work right.
Ron, if I may just add a little comment there, I think it's a perfect opportunity to give a bit of a plug for our own university, UNSW, in that we focus on employability rather than employment. So on the lifelong skills that you can develop to be adaptable throughout your career. And it goes to show that our global reputation in that we rank 27th in the world in terms of employability and number 1 in Australia by employers. Australian Financial Review has shown that we are the most employable university in the world. So I thought that was a good opportunity to give a little plug.
Yeah. So good marketers never lose any opportunity. Yeah?
So to our audience, if you're looking at Australia and you're looking at the most employable university, you know where to go. Thanks for that, Dennis. I noticed there are a lot of questions coming in, and what I failed to mention, we also have a great back-end team of relationship managers and specialists, that are answering a lot of the questions that come up. So, if they're very detailed technical questions about which country to go to, what course should I do, these will be picked up by the people that are specialists that are looking at a lot of these questions at the moment. So I'm just those questions. So basically, I want to know. Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at the questions that are coming up and how they're being answered. So thank you for that. I think we've got time probably for. I'm just looking. We've got a few more minutes. This, Dennis, would probably go to you. How are employers assessing students in the current times? During our discussions, Varun has indicated what he would be looking for, in hiring, new graduates or new people. And from your perspective, how are employers assessing people? Do we give them a job or don't we?
So you're not talking about the recruitment processes for the employers, right? What kind of things are they assessing in students? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, how are employers assessing students for employment now?
Right.
And is that changing?
Oh, well, firstly, I might just talk about the recruitment process in that is in-person interviews or in-person assessment centers. And for those of you who may not have gone through that recruitment process, and I might just add, like, an assessment center is basically group activities where you're given a task to do, and you are observed on your teamwork, your critical thinking, problem-solving skills, other soft skills, so for employers to observe and assess you. So all of these things that were done traditionally in person have all been converted to online. So online interviews and video interviews where you record a response to questions that pop up, and also online assessment centers. So all of the recruitment practices are happening through these online tools. Now, in terms of the skills that employers assess, and I guess there's a big focus on employers wanting students with experience. So students a lot of employers want students who can sort of hit the ground running, who have some industry experience. So we definitely focus on our students to be able to build that during their study, whether it be through internships that are hosted by the organization or internships that are built as part of the course at the university, run by the faculty. So, Ron?
Okay, thank you very much. Varun, any last bits that you'd like to add on that in terms of, in our previous discussion, you'd indicated how you were probably adopting a slightly different approach?
Yeah, so one thing is, so I'd like to add a caveat to it. So, and probably Dennis can vet it. You see, once the process is happening online for recruiting, right, there is no touch and feel of the candidate. So people are taking positive decisions, but then back of the mind, the HR and the top management feels that, yes, my strike rate will be 60%. That is where the caveat is. So when the people are joining, you are finding that your process, because of being online, is not as perfect now. Maybe in future it becomes, as it was touch and feel. So that's a caveat. That's a practical ground feedback I'm giving you from what is happening. I don't know what is Dennis' take on it.
No, I couldn't tell you. I don't think there's enough times passed to be a judge of that. But yeah, we'll see. And I guess over time, it's not a perfect science, but it may get better. So we'll have to see.
Okay.
So,
well, gentlemen, we've come to the end of our time. Sorry, Varun, you'd like to say something?
Completing the sentence, the authenticity will pass you through. If what you have indicated online and what you really are the same guy, then probably it sail you through, right?
Just to add to that, Varun, I guess the ones who put in the effort will excel further. So the ones who are always trying, they're going to put in the time and effort to adjust to this new platform, and they'll do even better than how they would have done. So I think it might just increase the discrepancy between the average student and the high students.
Yeah, I agree. This will happen.
Okay, well, let's watch the space with great interest. Gentlemen, we've come to the end of our time, and I want to thank you both most sincerely for the insights you've given. I think you've put a lot of very useful ideas, different ideas, exciting ideas across for our people that are heading into the world of work. So thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. And to our audience, please, I'd invite you to stay in touch with TC Global. We have great relationship managers that can serve you in many different areas, in global education, in learning, and things like overseas investment as well. So please, for your future career and the decision-making process, get in touch with us, stay in touch with your RM. We've had some amazingly exciting technology developments with our student platforms now, where we offer our students a huge amount of autonomy in really crafting their own journey and finding out a lot of incredibly useful information on our student platform. So I invite you to get onto the website, get onto the platform, and use that as well. I have no doubt you'll find it very, very, very useful. So thank you very much to everyone, to our back-end teams. Thank you so much for putting everything together. And to the team that put this session together, Ramala, Ayman, Rajesh, and the whole team, thank you so much. Really appreciate the hard work that's gone into it. So thank you very much, everybody. Good luck, God bless, and I'm sure this future world of work will serve us all well. Thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
You, Ron. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.